The world's wealthiest man spent an evening being treated like dirt. Elon Musk, worth over $430 billion, experienced firsthand the harsh reality of social prejudice when he went undercover as a homeless man in an upscale restaurant. From sneers to outright hostility, Musk faced a barrage of negative reactions. But amidst the sea of judgment, one act of kindness would not only restore his faith in humanity, but also spark a global conversation about compassion and equality. Elon Musk sat in his sleek office surrounded by the trappings of his success. His mind, usually focused on rockets and electric cars, now turned to a more personal experiment. He gazed out the floor-to-ceiling windows, pondering the nature of human interactions and societal judgments. The idea had formed gradually, a social experiment to test how people treat those less fortunate. Musk knew his face was one of the most recognizable in the world. How could he become invisible? The challenge intrigued him, sparking a plan that would push him far beyond his comfort zone. Musk began the meticulous process of creating his disguise. He visited thrift stores, selecting clothes that were worn but not ragged: a faded t-shirt, loose-fitting jeans, and scuffed shoes. Each item carefully chosen to create the impression of someone down on their luck, but not entirely destitute. Next came the physical transformation. A professional makeup artist worked her magic, adding years to Musk's face with subtle lines and weathered skin tones. A wig of unkempt gray hair completed the look, obscuring his familiar features. As the hours passed, Elon Musk slowly disappeared, replaced by a nondescript older man who could easily blend into the background of any city street. The psychology of appearance fascinated Musk as he watched his transformation. He knew that first impressions form in a matter of seconds, often based solely on visual cues. Studies have shown that people make snap judgments about others' competence, trustworthiness, and social status within moments of seeing them. Now, Musk was about to put those theories to the test in a very personal way. As the final touches were applied, anticipation built. Musk's team had secured a reservation at the Copper Elm, one of the city's most exclusive restaurants. Known for its upscale clientele and impeccable service, it would be the perfect setting for his experiment. Musk stood before a full-length mirror, hardly recognizing himself. Gone was the confident tech mogul, replaced by a man who looked like he hadn't seen a decent meal in weeks. He practiced a slight hunch in his posture, a hesitancy in his movements that completed the illusion. With a deep breath, Musk prepared to step into his new role. He knew that the next few hours would challenge not only society's perceptions, but his own as well. As he left his office, no one gave him a second glance, the first success of his disguise. The drive to the Copper Elm was filled with nervous energy. Musk rehearsed his backstory, a simple tale of hard times and bad luck. As the car pulled up to the restaurant's grand entrance, he steeled himself for what was to come. The experiment was about to begin, and Elon Musk, billionaire, innovator, household name, was now just another face in the crowd, invisible and unremarkable. The gleaming doors of the Copper Elm swung open, ushering Musk into a world that suddenly felt alien. The opulent atmosphere hit him like a wave. Crystal chandeliers glittered overhead, while the soft clink of fine china and muted conversations filled the air. Musk's shabby attire stood in stark contrast to the polished marble floors and impeccably dressed patrons. As he approached the hostess stand, Musk felt the weight of disapproving glances. The young woman behind the podium barely concealed her disdain, her smile faltering as she took in his appearance. "I'm sorry, sir," she said, her voice laced with forced politeness, "but we're fully booked this evening. Perhaps you'd like to try somewhere more suitable?" Musk felt a pang of hurt, despite knowing this was part of his experiment. He insisted he had a reservation, watching as the hostess reluctantly checked her list. Her eyes widened slightly upon seeing the name, but she quickly composed herself. "There seems to have been a mix-up," she said stiffly. "Please wait here while I sort this out." As Musk stood awkwardly in the entryway, he became acutely aware of the reactions around him. A couple at a nearby table whispered behind their menus, shooting furtive glances his way. An older gentleman in an expensive suit openly scowled, muttering something about standards slipping to his companion. The atmosphere grew thick with tension, every moment stretching out painfully. The hostess returned, flanked by a man who appeared to be the manager. His face was a mask of barely concealed irritation. "Sir," he began, his tone clipped, "I'm afraid there's been a mistake. We don't have a table available that would be appropriate for your attire. Perhaps you'd be more comfortable at one of the establishments down the street." Musk felt a surge of anger at the blatant discrimination. He opened his mouth to argue, but before he could speak, a young woman in a server's uniform stepped forward. "I can seat him in my section," she said firmly, meeting the manager's surprised gaze. "Table 12 just opened up." The manager hesitated, clearly torn between his desire to remove Musk from the premises and his reluctance to make a scene. Finally, he nodded curtly. "Very well, Sophia, but this is on you." As Sophia led Musk to his table, he could feel the eyes of the other diners boring into his back. He heard snippets of hushed conversations, words like disgraceful and ruining everyone's evening reaching his ears. The weight of judgment was palpable, making even the simple act of walking to his seat feel like running a gauntlet. Sophia, however, maintained a warm and professional demeanor. She pulled out his chair with a genuine smile, handing him a menu without hesitation. "Can I start you off with some water, sir?" she asked, her voice kind and free of the condescension he'd faced from others. As Musk settled into his seat, he couldn't help but wonder about this unexpected ally. What had motivated Sophia to stand up for him when everyone else seemed determined to push him away? Little did he know, her actions were about to set in motion a chain of events that would challenge perceptions and touch hearts far beyond the walls of the Copper Realm. In a world quick to judge, one person's kindness can change everything. What would happen when Sophia's empathy collided with the harsh realities of social prejudice? Sophia approached Musk's table with a warm smile, her demeanor a stark contrast to the cold shoulders and disapproving glances from other staff and patrons. "Good evening, sir," she said, her voice genuine and welcoming. "Our special tonight is a pan-seared salmon with a lemon dill sauce. Would you like to hear about our other options?" As Sophia patiently explained the menu, Musk couldn't help but notice the sideways glances and hushed whispers from nearby tables. A couple at the next table openly scoffed, loudly wondering why someone like that was allowed in such an establishment. Sophia, however, remained unfazed, her focus solely on providing excellent service. Throughout the evening, Musk observed Sophia's interactions with other customers. She handled demanding patrons with grace, never losing her composure or her kind demeanor. But it was her unwavering respect towards him that truly stood out. While others averted their eyes or spoke to him with barely concealed disdain, Sophia treated him with dignity. As the night wore on, the tension in the restaurant grew. Musk overheard snippets of conversation from Sophia's coworkers, criticizing her for wasting time on him. One waiter loudly complained about how she was bringing down the tone of the place. Yet Sophia remained steadfast, her kindness a beacon in a sea of judgment. Musk's curiosity about Sophia's motivations grew. He learned through their brief conversations that she was working to save money for culinary school, her dream of becoming a chef driving her passion for service. Her background had taught her the importance of respect and dignity, regardless of someone's appearance or circumstances. As Sophia cleared his plate, Musk made his decision. The experiment had yielded unexpected results, and Sophia's exceptional character deserved recognition. He watched her navigate the minefield of disapproval surrounding his presence, marveling at her resilience and compassion. The restaurant buzzed with activity as the evening drew to a close. Musk sat quietly observing the ebb and flow of conversations and the subtle social dynamics at play. He felt the weight of his disguise, the barrier it had created between him and the world around him. But Sophia had seen through that barrier, treating him with a humanity that others had forgotten. Musk took a deep breath, steeling himself for what was to come. The time had arrived to reveal his true identity and bring this social experiment to its climactic conclusion. As he stood up, commanding the attention of the entire restaurant, a hush fell over the room. The moment of truth had arrived, and with it, the power to challenge perceptions and touch hearts far beyond the walls of the Copper Elm. The restaurant fell silent, all eyes fixed on the disheveled figure who now commanded the room. In mere moments, a startling transformation would unfold, leaving everyone questioning their deepest assumptions about appearance, wealth, and human worth. Elon Musk stood tall, his posture straightening as he shed the hunched demeanor of his disguise. With deliberate movements, he removed the gray wig and began wiping away the makeup that had aged his features. Gasps rippled through the crowd as recognition dawned. The homeless man they had scorned was none other than one of the world's most famous billionaires. Expressions of shock, embarrassment, and disbelief painted the faces of patrons and staff alike. The hostess who had tried to turn him away stood frozen, her mouth agape. The manager who had reluctantly seated him visibly paled, no doubt imagining the repercussions of his earlier behavior. Musk's voice, calm but firm, cut through the stunned silence. I saw disdain. I heard whispers. I witnessed judgment all because of how I appeared, he began, his words carrying weight in the hushed room. He spoke of the invisible barriers that divide society, challenging those present to examine their own biases and preconceptions. As Musk continued, his gaze swept across the room, meeting the eyes of those who had sneered at him earlier. Some looked away, unable to face the truth of their actions. Others listened intently, visibly moved by the unexpected turn of events. The emotional climax approached as Musk turned to address Sophia, who stood wide-eyed and trembling near the kitchen doors. He praised her kindness and compassion, highlighting how her actions stood in stark contrast to the treatment he had received from others. Reaching into his pocket, Musk produced an envelope and handed it to the young waitress. With shaking hands, Sophia opened the envelope and began to read aloud, her voice quavering with emotion. Sophia, thank you for your kindness. Use this to follow your dreams. The world needs more people like you. As she unfolded the check inside, revealing the sum of $50,000, tears welled in her eyes and spilled down her cheeks. The room collectively held its breath, the weight of the moment palpable. Sophia's sobs of joy and gratitude broke the silence, triggering a wave of emotion that swept through the restaurant. Hardened businessmen wiped at their eyes, while women who had earlier looked down their noses at Musk now dabbed at mascara-stained cheeks with expensive napkins. As the reality of the situation sank in, a palpable shift occurred in the atmosphere of the Copper Elm. Conversations bubbled up, filled with a mixture of awe, regret, and self-reflection. Patrons who had been so quick to judge now grappled with the consequences of their actions, forced to confront uncomfortable truths about their own character. In the midst of it all, Musk stood quietly, observing the ripple effect of his experiment. He had set out to challenge perceptions and spark a conversation about kindness and human dignity. As he watched the scene unfold before him, it was clear that his mission had been accomplished, but in ways far more profound and far-reaching than he could have ever imagined. The ripples of Musk's experiment spread far beyond the Copper Elm. Staff members, once quick to judge, now approached their work with renewed empathy. Patrons found themselves reflecting on their own biases, sparking conversations about kindness and prejudice that extended into their personal and professional lives. Social media exploded with discussions about the experiment, challenging people worldwide to examine their treatment of others. Experts noted how individual acts of kindness, like Sophia's, can create a culture of empathy and inclusivity in communities. As viewers, we're challenged to combat our own biases. Practice empathy in your daily interactions. Treat everyone with respect, regardless of appearance or status. Engage in conversations that challenge societal norms. Remember, a single act of kindness can spark a chain reaction, transforming lives and communities in ways we may never fully comprehend. If you enjoyed this story, please don't forget to hit like button, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments below.